For the 8 years that Hamid Karzai has been in power, Afghanistan has remained the source country for most of the world's opium and its refined form, heroin. Afghanistan's opium production and cultivation has more than doubled since 2002, and it's reported that there are more than 50 heroin processing labs in operation today. But President Karzai has continued to insist that his war on drugs is being won.
We have done enough as the Afghan government, where Afghanistan's government is fully in charge in terms of the delivery of services and the ability of the government to govern well. Narcotics have come down.
Yet when he was first appointed, he had promised much more.
We are determined, like hell, to fight the cultivation of poppy, to work against the trafficking of drugs, and to destroy all forms of this menace's cultivation and use and trafficking.
But Karzai's tone has noticeably softened throughout his presidency.
It's the product of Afghanistan's desperation. People in Afghanistan, families in Afghanistan that I know personally, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, destroyed their pomegranate orchards to replace them with poppies. As long as Afghanistan goes on with this feeling of desperation, and those who have this feeling of desperation will go to illegitimate agriculture.
And once again, he highlighted the international community's role in a bid to deflect a portion of the blame.
We have planned eradication systems. We have eradicated narcotics in some of the provinces, but the problem is massive. It's a world problem. There is buyer for it. There is mafia enabled to do business. There is a grower.
But it has even been suggested that the Afghan government is complicit in and profiting from the drugs trade, a charge the president vehemently denies.
If Afghanistan used the money that narcotics generated, Afghanistan would be a very, very rich country. Afghanistan would be among the richest in the world. It generates perhaps annually $50 to $60 to $100 billion. Imagine if Afghanistan had that money, it would be in no need of help from the rest of the world. It would not be so miserable as it is today. We are the poorest country in the world. Our revenues are hardly $1 billion a year, all of our revenues put together.
And yet, Afghanistan has been the recipient of billions of dollars in aid from the international community since 2001. Not just for opium eradication projects, but also for reconstruction efforts.
We have just gotten out of the very successful conference of Berlin, in which the countries helping Afghanistan pledged $8.2 billion for 3 years, of which $4.5 billion is for this year alone.
Yet today in Afghanistan, more than half the population is living below the poverty line. And according to international observers, the money isn't reaching the right pockets. In 2008, Transparency International ranked Afghanistan as the 5th most corrupt country on earth. And it has been suggested that the corruption extends to the president's inner circle, including his own brothers. Yet fighting corruption, along with the Taliban and the drugs trade, had been at the top of his agenda in the early days.
One area where we will be extremely tough and rather oppressive will be against corruption. So trust us there. Will be very, very, very rough there. There is no way that we can allow that. No way. Because we know if we allow that, the country will not do well.
In a bid to unify Afghanistan's various tribes and ethnic groups, Karzai appointed former warlords to his first cabinet in June 2002. But the presence of these often notorious characters angered ordinary Afghans. Yet despite widespread fraud allegations and a temporary boycott by candidates, on the 7th of December 2004, Karzai became the first democratically elected president of Afghanistan. He promised complete transparency.
It's going to be a cabinet that will be responsive,
It's not going to be, a private property of me or anybody else. Government in Afghanistan from now onwards belongs to the people. The Afghan people have elected me. If I don't perform, they can kick me out. And I have chosen the ministers. If they don't perform, I will ask them to leave.
Karzai and his new administration, however, would face tough challenges. And he himself was accused of protecting corrupt officials, even in his own cabinet.
This problem of corruption is there. We are working on it every day and with a lot of attention and dedication. Daily there are arrests, there are dismissals, there are court sentences issued against corrupt officials, they're sent to prison.
Yet the worsening security situation, especially outside the capital, revealed the vulnerability of the new government, and Karzai was often derided as the mayor of Kabul.
A very great part of the country is under the control of the Afghan government. There was a myth from the very beginning, somehow in the international media, that Afghanistan's government did not control beyond Kabul or beyond a few provinces, which was very, very wrong.
As the president's promises faded, so did his popularity.
I don't expect to be as popular in Afghanistan as I was 6 years ago. People had great expectations. I had great expectations. And people get tired of governments and leaders. My job is not to continue forever.
And his international support was about to suffer another blow. With George W. Bush leaving office, Karzai would lose a strategic partner.
You will be leaving office, Mr. President, in a few months from today. It's an honor to have associated with you, to have had your friendship, and to have had your support, and to have had your patience with me and some of our habits. Very, very nice of you. I've yelled at times, I've been angry at times, but you've always been smiling and generous, and that's so nice of you.
Such kind words for a man who many accused of war crimes attracted widespread criticism. But Karzai was unapologetic.
I had a very good relationship with President Bush, who was a great friend of mine and a man that helped Afghanistan so much. All that we have here today is because of the help that President Bush and his administration and the American people offered. And that help is continuing. Afghanistan still enjoys bipartisan support in the United States. Both the Republicans and the Democrats are backing Afghanistan.
But the cracks were already appearing, as Barack Obama declared his dissatisfaction with the Afghan government's role in the country's development. Following President Obama's inauguration, rumors of tensions between the US and Afghanistan were confirmed by Karzai.
There is tension between us and the United States government on issues of civilian casualties, arrests of Afghans, nightly raids on homes and casualties that they cause. This has caused some anger in Washington. I can understand that. Our children are also as precious to us as children in any other country. I guess our American friends must understand that we have emotions too, we have sentiments, we get hurt. And we had to defend when we feel that we are right to defend ourselves.
Over the years, Karzai's statements have become more nuanced. And as his accomplishments are put under the spotlight, he maintains a defensive tone.
We are a third world country. We are a country that have just emerged from 30 years of an immensely destructive war. We are also at times called a failed state. Afghanistan was not a failed state. Afghanistan was a destroyed state.
He's had what many consider one of the most difficult jobs in the world. Since he came to power, he's survived several attempts on his life. Even the capital, Kabul, is now rocked by regular explosions. The future remains uncertain, but President Karzai refuses to leave Afghanistan again.
I was asked this question many, many years ago in the United States by a friend of mine. He said, Hamid, why don't you come to the United States like so many other Afghans and live in the US? Why are you exposing yourself to dangers? This is the Taliban time. I said, because I love to have a good life. I love to have good roads. I love to have a Porsche. I love to have a Jaguar or a Mustang. but in my own country, in Afghanistan. I love all your roles in America and UK and Europe, but I love those roles in Afghanistan, and I love those vehicles in Afghanistan, and I want to have a good life in Afghanistan, and that is the good life I'm wishing for my son and the children his age in Afghanistan.
But the reality could not be more different. 8 years after the commencement of the war on terror, Afghanistan is as insecure as ever. And Karzai admits it's taken its toll on him.
I am tired, I'm exhausted, I get very, very little time to spend with myself. It's constant, daily, non-ending activity in Afghanistan. The work is very, very hard, and I've done it. I'm glad that I've kept the country together, and Afghanistan has become the home of all Afghans, and a lot that we have achieved.
Despite his fatigue, Hamid Karzai declared he would run in the 2009 presidential elections. Opponents insist that his faults as a leader have led to the many unfulfilled promises over the years. But in his words, the true achievements are yet to be seen.
For me, as the president of Afghanistan today, there will be no greater accomplishment, but one in which I am either elected in a fair election or defeated in a fair election. Did I get it right?